Okay, just so we're all on the same page here, this is the regular weekly version of the game OverThinker. You've probably seen a bunch of other OverThinker videos popping up all over the site this week because we've also been running reaction pieces to big release news and game company press events for E3. But now for your normal OverThinker programming, we're dipping into... wait, what are we doing? Well, that actually sounds like more of the same thing, actually. No, I mean, I do it, it seems like we might be spreading a little... So what this comes down to is we've been mostly reacting to trailers and new games, with this being an off year without any major showstopper to dominate the conversation and big next generation hardware reveal, evidently on hold for the next one. There hasn't really been anything major for gamers to universally thrill to, but since we are talking about video games, there's plenty for people to get way too idiosyncratically enraged by. And this year, a popular target of disdain has been the evergreen issue of studios holding press events revealing new and upcoming games with trailers that contain little to no actual gameplay, comprised either of arranged cutscenes or in some cases expensively animated sequences that will only ever exist as short-form features used to advertise early builds of the game in this specific context. And even trailers and reveals that do feature actual gameplay often do so in sporadic bursts or as part of montages that reduce them to abstract elements of light and sound rather than representations of their actual selves. Now, of course, it's obvious why some companies would want to present their games this way, especially now that a portion of the public and quote-unquote fandom prosumer press is invited to the show. E3 press events are about generating hype and making a splash, and what amounts to an animated short film can make even a mediocre actual game seem worthwhile. Likewise, it's easy to see why this would be frustrating for people trying to glean actual information from these presentations. What amounts to an animated short film can make even a mediocre actual game look worthwhile. And yet, while I could be a smug, cynical asshole about this and point out that getting mad about a trade show for expensive technology toys, leaning harder into spectacle than substance, is probably at least a little bit about not wanting to be reminded so readily that you are essentially clapping and cheering for a billion-dollar corporation affording you the privilege of watching commercials, I would perhaps instead... Oh? Oh, yeah, right. I guess I did do that. Here's the thing, though. In theory, I don't actually really mind this. First of all, in practical terms, a lot of these games aren't anywhere near close to done, and you don't want to show the underwhelming skeleton of a project or something you don't end up getting to finish. Secondly, a lot of games in the past that have shown gameplay turned out to be just as non-representative, if not more so, because the studios were creating these slick-looking vertical slices of seemingly good gameplay of what turned out to be shit overall titles. So speaking only for myself, but I'm not so much sick of cinematic game trailers as I am sick of bad, boring cinematic game trailers. And if this stuff came off entertaining and less samey and repetitive, I sincerely suspect there'd be a lot less complaining about it. Not that I haven't learned to somewhat ironically appreciate our yearly parade of dev studio animators and cutscene editors busting out the melancholy college music and visual nods to Meshes of the Afternoon, Unshan Andalou, and the finale of Zabriskie Point to gussy up the latest shooty gun bang army war title as a way of saying, look, even though I do this for a living, I did go to film school. Thusly, what I'm given to wonder is whether or not the real deep down source of resentment here isn't about the gameplay-free trailers themselves at all, but what they reveal about the sorry state of what they're trying to sell. After all, gameplay is only one element of a game. A quote-unquote cinematic trailer should theoretically have plenty else to work with, like focusing on things such as story, theme, characters, idea, atmosphere, the chance to tell us why we want to interact with these interactive worlds, yes? Well, sure, unless, of course, the characters are flat to non-existent, or the worlds are bland and generic, or the stories have been retread a dozen times this same year alone, or the themes are muddled, confused, or lacking in depth. Just as the general spectacle of these presentations can sour an audience simply by reminding them too sharply that E3 is a giant monument to conspicuous consumption and little else, the endless deluge of bland, run-together cinematic trailers forces gamers to confront just how narratively malnutritious, bereft of decent characters, and lacking in meaningful resonant themes so much of modern gaming really is now. But what really eats at us, I suspect, is that this sorry spectacle isn't only a window on an industry shambling toward its next crash and creative meltdown. It's also a mirror. Just a thought.